Welcome back, folks. I'm Priz, and today we're going to be taking some time to talk about alignment. I've seen that Paizo's decision to remove alignment with the Pathfinder 2e Remaster project has been met with mixed opinions, so let's talk about it. I'm personally a fan of removing alignment, but before we get into why I personally don't like alignment as a system, let's talk about why I don't think that alignment works for 2e as a game, first and foremost. Alright, so in case you are somehow completely unaware of what alignment is a representation of every character's morality. There are 3 different options along 2 different axes, varying from good to evil and law to chaos. So if you like following the rules of society and helping people, then you're probably lawful good. This wasn't the original use of alignment, which was there an indication of how much an individual is affecting the cosmic struggle between the forces of good, evil, law, and chaos, but that's what it has become with time, and is the general public perception of what alignment is. Both historically and within Pathfinder 2e up until now, alignment has often had a lot of mechanical implications. If someone casts a Holy Smite down on an entire wave of people, or unleashes a cataclysm of pure evil, then it's probably going to affect people of different alignments based on those alignments. Sometimes this works fantastically. If you're fighting fiends, then it's super satisfying that calling down the powers of good is actually one of the most effective strategies, especially if you compare calling down the forces of good against good people, where it does nothing. But it isn't always good. In Pathfinder 2e, the best alignment to have defensively is true neutral. If you're a true neutral character, then you literally can't take any type of alignment damage, which means that every single encounter where those damage types comes up is going to be objectively less dangerous for you, which doesn't really feel like it makes sense, and also causes an imbalance in the game design. Outside of simple damage types, alignment has a couple of other specific uses in 2e. Mainly, divine casters like clerics and champions have to be certain alignments to worship and get power from certain deities, and champions have to stay within exact alignments to have their powers. This makes some sense, since obviously a deity focused on forgiveness like Serenre isn't gonna want to give power to a super evil serial killer. There are some problems with that, though. First off, 2e has already a bunch of clear systems in place for determining if you can get powers from certain deities. Every single deity or moral philosophy in Pathfinder 2e has edicts and anathemas that you have to follow in order to be considered a true follower. So then, that raises the question of why a deity should deny powers to one of their followers that is dedicating their whole life to those edicts and anathemas, just because their alignment doesn't match. I'd argue that the edicts and anathemas are more important in showing who is a true follower of a deity than which part of the sacred 3x3 grid they've got checked. Champions, in particular, are really negatively impacted by alignment. Unlike every other class in the game, specific champion clauses, which are basically subclasses, are restricted to particular alignments. If you want to be a Liberator champion, then you literally can only be chaotic good. If you want to be a Redeemer, then you have to be neutral good. The problem here is, tell me what's so important about being chaotic or neutral good in those 2 examples to those 2 causes. Caring about liberation and redemption aren't exclusive to those alignments. Tons of people care about those concepts. Similar to deities, I'm of the opinion that if you're following the tenets of liberation, then why can't you be a liberator? Champions are champions of specific causes, not that alignment in particular. Those are very, very different things. At least I think that they should be. Now let's talk about my personal issues with alignment. Keep in mind that a lot of this is going to be based on my mindset towards morality and life as a whole, so it's totally fine to disagree with me on this. It isn't okay to attack other people just because you disagree with their opinions, though, so don't do that. Fundamentally, alignment is frustrating to me. It's inherently reductive, since clearly real-life people don't neatly fall into different moral boxes, and people frequently change over the course of their lives. People aren't wholly orderly or wholly chaotic, but rather just a confusing mess of all kinds of other stuff. Just because someone is going to be an ass today doesn't mean that they have to be an ass in a week. People are incredibly complicated, and just simplifying everything down to 9 different options just isn't a good representation of morality. The other larger issue that I have with alignment is that it feels like it only allows for viewing the world through one specific moral lens. Like, who decides what good actually means in regards to alignment in the setting? If someone is raised in a culture with very different moral values than our own, and they uphold those values, then shouldn't they be considered good by that society, even if their actions are not what we would consider to be good? As it is now, they wouldn't be considered good with their alignment, because we're using our real-life understanding of morality. And plus, it's only using that one moral lens. I'm not a personal fan of taking one moral understanding and then making it fundamentally true within reality, because that just doesn't feel right to me. If you're good, then you have to follow very particular rules rather than the ones that fit where you were raised. I just feel like morality is a really interesting subject, and just simplifying it this dramatically isn't a good system. Putting a reductive moral indicator on the front of every single character sheet isn't gonna make anything better. Everyone will have different understandings of what makes each alignment that alignment, and that will and has caused confusion. Removing alignment and instead adding tenets and anathema, like the gods already have, to every character is a wonderful change, both in my personal opinion and how I'm going to affect the game. And plus, there's nothing stopping you from just writing it in on the sheet. Thanks for watching. I'm expecting that there's going to be some disagreements regarding the subject of this video, but it's all my personal opinion, which by definition means that I'm not trying to say that I'm objectively correct. Please feel free to disagree with me respectfully, though. Speaking of which, let me know what you think down in a comment below, and while you're down there, please consider subscribing and joining as a member. My current members, Silmarus and Hector Vivis, help me out so much. And regardless, until I see you next, live a wonderful life.